Hello, thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Tara Alderete. I'm the Director of Education and Community Relations at Money Management International, or MMI. MMI is a 501c3 nonprofit credit counseling and housing organization, and we offer many great services to help clients achieve their financial goals. Please give us a call at 866-889-9347 or visit us online at www.moneymanagement.org to learn more about our services or schedule your free initial session today. I'm very happy to join Carolyn Pemberton of America Saves. She'll tell you a little bit more about their campaign, but essentially they help people save money to build wealth and reduce debt. So thank you again, Carolyn, for joining us today, and I hope everybody enjoys the session.
Thank you, Tara, for having me here today to talk with MMI and our audience about saving as a part of managing your money and credit. We're happy to be a part of this conversation. America Saves is the leading voice on saving and encouraging individuals like you to save money, to reduce debt, and build wealth. You can go to the next slide, please. The information that I'm going to share today will hopefully help you develop successful strategies to save, whether you're new to saving or you have been saving for years. And just a little bit of information about who America Saves is. As I said, we are a campaign to motivate and encourage people like you to save effectively in order to reduce debt and build wealth. The foundation of our work is the use of the America Saves Pledge, which is a very simple savings plan. When you take the America Saves Pledge, you make a selection of the goal that you want to save for, and then you make a commitment to yourself to reach that goal. After you take the America Saves Pledge, you begin to receive ongoing support and communication from America Saves to help you reach your specific goal. Since 1991, more than 800,000 individuals have taken the America Saves Pledge, and we look forward to having you join us among those individuals. So the first part that I want to talk about, in the next slide, please, is creating a savings plan. We know that when you start with a goal and a plan to reach that goal, you tend to be much more successful at reaching that goal. When people don't have a plan to what they want to save for, they just don't tend to be as successful. And it doesn't have to be a complicated plan. A simple one works just as well. And the America Saves plan is just one such simple plan. And it really consists of just 3 steps that you take online at americasaves.org. For most people, having a specific goal makes it easier to keep the commitment to save. Some very common goals include saving for an emergency cash fund that can be used to help pay for unexpected expenses, things like car or home repairs, income disruptions. Other savings goals can include saving for a down payment on a car or a home, saving for education, retirement, and even saving for a vacation. These are all great savings goals. Some people may even have more than one goal at a time that they are saving for and dividing up the total amount that they're saving among those different goals, and that works just as well. And so now I'm going to turn it back to Tara, who's going to talk more about the goal setting process, budgeting, and using credit wisely.
Excellent. Well, thanks, Carolyn. It is absolutely true. Starting with the goal is the first step in developing a savings plan and a budget. So whether you've ever written them down or not, you have goals about what you'd like to do or accomplish, and your goals have a big impact on what you do each day. So there are 3 simple steps to setting good goals, and so we'll start by taking a closer look at those. First, you'll want to start with the end in mind. If you know where you want to end up, it's easy to start identifying the steps you need to take to move you forward towards reaching your goals. So identify and commit to goals that inspire you to make the right choices. This is really key to sticking to a financial plan that supports achieving those goals. Step 2 would be to commit to your goals in writing. We know that goals are best when they're specific and measurable, so try to identify some short-term and long-term goals for yourself and think about the approximate cost and target dates for achieving them. And then the final step in a good goal setting process is to adjust your goals as necessary. As you start working to reach your goals and build your budget and save money, know that you might need to make some adjustments down the road as your life changes so that you can allow for unforeseen circumstances, because small daily choices really do have a big impact on whether or not we achieve those goals and how fast we achieve them. So I wanted to talk a little bit now about the budgeting process and a priority spending plan. What is a priority spending plan? Well, it's an important tool that can help you stay the course to achieving those financial goals, whatever it is that you want to do. So it's a strategy for spending money, and it's going to help you identify and make sure that you can pay those most important bills first. It's a tool that helps you make spending choices and purchases that support the short and long-term goals that you've set. And it's a guide to help you track how much money comes into your household and how you use it. In short, it's a budget. So let's take a closer look at how to build a priority spending plan that will work for you. And we can do this in 5 steps. So the first step we've already talked about, and that's to identify your goals. Ask yourself some questions. Do your goals make sense? Are they realistic, and do they feel right for where you are in your life now and where you want to be? And then do they inspire you to work hard to achieve them? And keep in mind, your goals can change. Just as your budget changes and your life situation changes, your goals can change too. But the important thing is to start any good process by identifying where you are and where you want to be so that you can commit to goals that help you make the right choices to get there. The second step in a budgeting or priority spending process is to identify your monthly income. And we talk about income in 2 different ways, gross and net income. And so gross income is the income that you make before any deductions are taken out. And your deductions could be several different things. It could be 401k, it could be spending plan deductions for parking or travel or medication. And your net income is what you take home. It's what you net and take home after all those deductions have been taken. So when you're building a budget or a priority spending plan, it's important to use that net income, the income that we can rely on consistently. The next step in building a budget after you've identified your goals and identified what you can rely on consistently for that net income would be to prioritize expenses. And we think about those expenses in terms of needs and wants. And so this is where the budgeting process becomes more difficult. Easy to say, difficult to do, because as we prioritize expenses, we consider those needs items essential things that you need and your family needs to live and work. So these would really be things like rent or mortgage, transportation, utilities, medication, things like that. Wants items are things that you desire. You want them, but they're not necessary to live or work. So these, of course, would be things like entertainment, hair, nails, cable, things like that. And so the idea here is to pay those priority items first, plan for those first, and then factor in those wants items as you can afford it. Before we talk about the next step in the priority spending plan building process, I want to talk about a little bit about the importance of saving, because when we think about needs and wants, consider whether you think savings is a necessary expense or something that would be nice to do, but it's not necessary. This is absolutely a priority item, and this is something that Carolyn will talk a little bit more about in just a moment. But as you build that priority spending plan, consider that savings really is a priority expense. So the next step in the budgeting process would be to do the math. Subtract your spending from your income. You want to compare your monthly net income and then add up all of those expenses. And remember, you've identified those needs items as well as those wants items, and you've added them up, and then you do the math. If you're spending more than you make, then it's time to make some adjustments. And so that takes us to the final step in the plan for building your budget. And this would be to either or both increase income and reduce expenses. And so you'll want to do that until you've got a balanced budget, and a balanced budget that also includes saving. And so we think about our expenses in three different ways, whether it's a fixed expense, something that happens each month and we can rely on it consistently, a variable expense, which would be something that happens each month, but the amount is different. This could be gas or utilities, and then a periodic expense, those things that we should plan for each month, but they only come up a few times a year. These might be things like gifts or insurance payments if you pay them every 6 months. And so when we think about our expenses that way and consider adjustments we need to make, it becomes easier to think about adjusting those things that are variable and wants items first, and then maybe starting to make adjustments to some of those periodic expenses, making sure that we pay those most priority expenses first. Another important piece of the puzzle when we think about saving and building an effective budget is really credit, because credit can affect us in so many different ways. Here are some of the ways that credit can affect us. It can determine whether or not we're approved for a loan, and if we are approved for a loan, how much we'll pay in interest and fees. Credit is also used to determine whether or not we'll make a payment or a down payment when we go to turn on utilities and other services like cell phones, insurance premiums, rental contracts, and believe it or not, employers are even looking at our credit. So credit is very important and it affects our bottom line or our budget directly. If we're thinking about how much money we're going to pay in interest on loans, that's money that comes directly out of our budget, and it takes money away from what we can save to achieve those goals, the things that we really wanted to do. Once you understand what makes up your credit score, it becomes easier to manage. And so I wanted to take just a couple of minutes and move through the 5 components of a credit score. The first and most important thing you can do to positively affect your credit score and therefore positively affect your bottom line budget and give you more money to save and reach your goals is a positive payment history. So this accounts for 35% of your overall credit score. And this just means, do you make your regular monthly payments on time, consistently, at least the minimum? That's 35% of your overall credit score. But when I talk about this like a puzzle piece, building that budget is critical because you've got to know how much you're working with so that you know how much you are paying each month in those minimum payments. The next piece of managing your credit, 30%, is the amounts owed. And so what we're talking about here is your utilization ratio. So this might mean if you have a credit card and you've got a $1,000 credit limit, but you've charged only $300 of the available balance, all other things being equal, you'd have a better credit score than if you charged $999 of the available 1,000. So the key here is to keep your utilization, the amount that you use in your available credit, at or below 30%. And if you can't do that, you want to try to keep it at or below 50%. But again, if we go back to the budget, the big piece here is that if we're able to build a budget that allows us to live within our means, then we're only using credit for those things that we can afford to pay off each month in full. And if we do that, that accounts combined for 65% of our overall credit score. The next factor is 15%, and that's length of credit history. And this is just how long you've had your credit history. So consider this if you've got several different accounts and you want to close one or more of them. If all other things are equal, interest rates and things like that, annual fees, you would want to keep open the account that you've had the longest because that affects your credit score 15%. And then the last 2 chunks at 10% each are new credit, and this is inquiries. So this is any time that you're asking someone to check your credit because you're looking to have them extend credit to you. There's a soft inquiry and a hard inquiry. Now, a hard inquiry is going to affect your score about 10%, and that would be, like I said, again, if you're asking for somebody to extend credit to you. A soft inquiry, though, might be an employer checking your credit or you checking your own credit. Those things would not impact your score. So they're considered a soft inquiry. And then the last 10% of what makes up your credit score is the type of credit used. And so this is just, again, all other things being equal, if you're effectively managing several different types of credit, maybe a mortgage, an auto loan, and a credit card payment, then you might have a better score than if you were just managing one type of credit. So they're looking at how many different types of credit are you using effectively. And those 5 things together make up your credit score. So as you demystify that just a little bit, it becomes important to understand that if you can effectively manage that score, it's going to directly impact how much money you're paying out of your budget each month, therefore how much money you have to save and achieve your financial goals. Just a few tips to help you manage your credit wisely. Choose products that work for you. So there's a bunch of different credit products out there. Some of them offer incentives and rewards. Some of them, give you cash back bonuses. Some of them have higher or lower interest rates, annual fees or no annual fees. So you'll want to do the research and choose the best credit product for you. Next, make sure that you have a strong budget and you're only charging what you can afford to pay back in full when the bill comes due. This way, you're not paying additional money in interest, but you're continuing to report positive history on your credit bureau to help you build your credit. And then thirdly, make sure that you're checking those bank statements and your credit reports regularly. There are 3 credit reporting agencies, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, and you can monitor your credit regularly. We suggest at least 1 time a year you look at your credit report from each of those bureaus. You can do this for free by visiting www.annualcreditreport.com. So those are just some tips to help you manage your credit wisely so that you're using credit as a tool to help you build that effective budget and save money instead of something that can hurt you. So I'm going to turn it back to Carolyn so that she can talk to us a little bit more about the importance of saving and some steps that we can take to make sure that we are saving effectively.
Great, thank you, Tara. So as I mentioned previously, the America Saves Pledge is a very simple plan that you can use to help you save most effectively. And it really touches on all of the information that Tara just shared about saving and picking a goal. And this picture here just shows you choose your goal, you decide how much you would like to save per month, and you decide how long you want to save for that particular goal. So if you're trying to save for a down payment on a car and you decide you want to have that down payment in the next 6 months, then you need to figure out how much you want to save per month to reach that in 6 months. We also encourage you to think about, can you save more each month in order to reach your goal sooner? And then when you do interact with us by taking the America Saves Pledge, you will receive communications from us in the terms of emails and text messages, newsletters, and we also have resources on our website and can connect with you on social media, all to help you be the most effective saver. Next slide. So in determining how much you need to save, it really comes down to whether it is something that is a short-term goal or a long-term goal. And as I said, you want to look at what is this total sum amount of money that you need in order to achieve your goal, and when you want to reach that goal, and then what you need to save each month in order to get there. Next slide. One of the most common goals selected by individuals who take the America Saves Pledge is saving for emergencies. Nearly a quarter of our savers choose this goal. And so if you're wondering what exactly an emergency fund is and what it consists of, it is usually a savings account that you can access without fees or penalties. And we recommend striving for a minimum of $500 in that savings account. And this can be used for any type of unexpected expenses like unreimbursable medical expenses, unexpected car or home repairs, expenses that can come as a result of a natural disaster or an income loss, even positive things like a last-minute travel opportunity. When you have some extra cash set aside, you can use it for opportunities like that. So saving for an emergency fund starts with small, regularly scheduled automatic contributions that build up over time. And we'll talk about automatic savings in just a minute. Next slide. So as Tara talked about previously, in looking at how much you can afford to save, you want to look at your budget. Where are you spending your money? And as Tara outlined, those essential versus non-essential expenses, making a list of every expense that you have and remembering all the different ways that you pay for your expenses, whether it's by cash, credit, debit, even auto pay. You want to look at everything to get a complete picture. And then we recommend looking at all of those expenses in terms of categories. The major ones are housing, food, utilities, and then, you know, those non-essential expenses like entertainment and shopping. And from there, you know, you create your realistic budget. What can you afford to really spend on those non-essential items after you have accounted for your essential items? And if you're looking for ways to save more money and to find more room in your budget to save, there is one resource that is at americasaves.org, and it's called 54 Ways to Save Money. And you might find some tips in there that could be helpful in stretching your dollars to find more money to save. Next slide. So automatic savings is really the key to saving effectively. And when we talk about automatic savings, we talk about having a process in place where you are saving at regular intervals, whether that's monthly, weekly, or daily. We know that research has shown that automatic savings is really the most effective way to save. And the appeal of this is that it's that concept of you set it and forget it. Once you've set up automatic savings, you don't have to do anything else in order to save. And then there are two basic ways that you can look at saving automatically: digitally and analog. Next slide, please. And so this is an illustration of just how even small, regularly saved amounts of money can build up over time and can help you reach your goal. For example, $50 a month accumulates to $600 at the end of 1 year. So the three main strategies for saving automatically include, the first one is if you are paid by direct deposit through your place of employment, and the vast majority of Americans are paid this way, you can instruct your employer to transfer a certain amount of money from each paycheck into a separate savings account. All you have to do is provide your employer with the amount of money you want to save each paycheck and the account information. With this information, your employer will take care of the rest. I think you can go to the next slide, Tara. Another strategy is to have your bank or credit union transfer a fixed amount of money from your checking account to a savings account every day, or every payday, excuse me. This can be set up whether your paycheck is directly deposited by your employer or you manually deposit your paycheck. You simply tell your financial institution how much money you want to transfer from your checking account into a savings account, and they set it up. The last strategy is to choose a day of the month or a regular interval, such as every 2 weeks, to transfer a predetermined amount of money from your checking account to a savings account. This is a recommended method for people with inconsistent income or those who perhaps access their pay frequently. Again, you want to set this process up with your bank or credit union, and you might want to consider picking a time of the month when other automatic payments are not occurring. So sometimes people think, oh, I don't have enough money to save. And we certainly recognize that some people are still in the portion of their savings journey where they are working to reduce debt. And we absolutely consider that as a form of saving. So once you've reduced your debt, you hopefully will find that you have more ability to save up by putting money away automatically into a dedicated savings account. And there are lots of resources out there like MMI to help you through that process of paying off your debt. So again, we encourage you to go to americasaves.org. Last slide, Tara. And to take the America Saves Pledge, join our community of savers, receive ongoing support to reach your goal, and join all of the many individuals who are saving automatically. Thank you.